and Happy New Year. I hope everyone's 2026 is off to a decent start. I still cannot believe that it is 2026. I think 2025 needs to be studied with how fast it went by. But we're getting right into it with another video. This is a little bit of a continuation from the last video I made about your calling. Since then, I've had a few more thoughts and I decided to make a video because I think this is a really important conversation to have. So, in my last video, I talked about some questions that I'm asking to try to figure out what is my calling, what am I supposed to be doing with the gifts and the talents and resources that I have. While that is a noble thing to figure out and something that you should figure out, I realized I was becoming so hyperfixated on that, on trying to figure out my calling for the future, that I was completely neglecting the people and the resources and the opportunities that I do have right now. We often talk about calling as if it's something in the future, but your calling changes throughout your life. I was my most anxious and stressed and guilt-ridden and unproductive when I was trying to live in the future. When I had this idea that I can only serve God, I can only make an impact when I am in a certain situation, when I'm connected to these people, when I have X amount of knowledge and I've developed my talent to this sort of level. And that's just a lie. I think it's a tactic of Satan because it prevents us from being productive where we currently are. Why am I waiting on a set of circumstances in order to start living how I know God wants me to live? So I've been reading Mere Christianity, a great book I would recommend to Christians and non-Christians alike. It's kind of addressed to both of those. And C.S. Lewis just has such a profound way of just explaining things in such simple terms. And in the chapter I was reading last night, he talked about how Christians need to come to two realizations. One is our spiritual bankruptcy, that we cannot keep God's commandments. We can't live the life that he wants of us on our own. And two, that we cannot give God anything that isn't essentially already his. He gave us life itself. He gives us any of our talents. He gives us any of our mental capacities. And when you realize those two things, that we are destitute without him and that we can't do more for God than he's already done for us, there's like a mindset switch where you realize that God is so much more concerned with the type of person that you are becoming versus what you can do for God. What also holds me back is worrying that I'm going to make the wrong decision. That if I choose the wrong job, that if I go to the wrong school, that if I spend my day working on the wrong thing, I've thrown a wrench in God's plan. And I just have to sit back and think, do I really have that much power over my life? Is God's plan really so fragile that me temporarily working in the wrong place would destroy it permanently? No. God can do so much more with the right heart posture than he can with me in the right spot, me in the right job, me in the right set of circumstances. When I have the right relationship with God, that's when the real transformative, better than we can ask, think, or imagine work can happen. God does not want a congregation of people following a certain set of rules. It's why Jesus criticized the religious leaders more than anybody else in the Bible. On paper, they were the most religious. They were following the rules to a T, but they didn't have the right mindset. They didn't have the right heart posture behind it. And that's why Jesus couldn't use them. Their hearts were hardened whenever he was trying to teach them things. So maybe right now he's saying to me, Bella, you in a different set of circumstances is not going to heal you. It's not going to fix your work ethic. It's not going to rid you of your anxieties. I need to do an internal change first. And maybe the way to find my calling in the next season is to focus on what I have in front of me, what God has placed in front of me. Whoever is faithful with little will be faithful with much. And so why would I expect God to give me more when I'm neglecting what I already have right now, you know? And so I'm really this year trying to be more intentional with what am I doing right now? I'm a student. So how can I work heartily? One of my favorite verses, Colossians 3:23, whatever you do, work heartily as something done for the Lord and not for men. So how can I work heartily in my schoolwork? Not taking little shortcuts to try to finish assignments faster, not looking up the answer on ChatGPT, which I try not to do, but you know, every now and then it's a really late night. I want to live in the present and not the future because it is such a discouraging and disheartening way to live when you are just waiting for what you don't have, which by the way, I don't even know if God is going to answer the prayers that I have. That right now, my idea of my life is what it will actually look like in reality. So I'm really trying to just be present with where God has placed me and not write anything off as insignificant or unusable by God. I mean, what if the disciples hadn't given Jesus those 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish? What if they said, oh, this is not enough? I'm embarrassed by this. No, this doesn't matter. It's a good thing that God tells us not to rely on our own thoughts. When I realize that God is more after my heart and my heart posture, and that's what he needs to fix, not my external circumstances, it's such a relief knowing that I don't have to be perfect. I'm not God. And trying to live like I am my own God is exhausting. And it's not the way we're supposed to live. When I realize my relationship with him, that's when I'm most myself. That's when I am most usable. So, all this to say, ask God, what is my calling right now? Don't wait on circumstances to start living how he wants you to live. What might you be calling me to fix right now? What might you be calling me to pour into more right now, God? And I can still have that future in mind. I don't need to abandon that, but I want to be present with what's in front of me right now. I want to live with intention and with the heart posture that God wants and that God can truly use.